Hey y'all, welcome back to Angora Aura's Knitting. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the linking machine that I have. Quite a few people have commented asking for a tutorial on that machine, so I thought I would make a video talking about where I got the machine, how it works, and how to thread it to use it. I also have some tips and tricks for if you run into issues, because these are some issues that I've run into. So hopefully me sharing that and how I fixed it, you guys will be able to fix your linker if you run into any problems. Let's go ahead and get started. This is the website that I bought the linker, hagedirect.co.uk, and I did buy the electric one. There's also a hand one where you manually link it. Here is my electric linker. The machine comes with a little pouch with an extra needle and an Allen wrench, and then the tiniest crochet hook known to man. There is a cover that comes over the needles, which is nice just to put on if you're moving the machine. This will create a chain stitch. To set it up, you will also have these two rods. So I'm gonna stick this rod here and then this other rod in the other hole. I have experimented with the kinds of yarn that will work on this machine, and really you just want a thin yarn, you know, not as thin as like sewing thread. I mean, I'm sure you could, but I use like, I have used mohair. Like if I made like a mohair sweater, I can use the mohair to link it. I just made a sweater and used this really thin boucle yarn actually to link. So you can definitely use different yarns. I've also used like a thicker cotton yarn. So let's say I am going to seam up a garment with this yarn here. This is on a cone, so it's quite easy for me to just set the rod through here. And you know, sometimes depending on like what you're setting up there, like if I had a cake of yarn, sometimes I don't even use this and I'll just set it here and like kind of just make sure it doesn't fall, because sometimes when I stick this through the cake, since this rod is so much taller, sometimes when the yarn comes up, it gets kind of trapped on this and messes up the tension, and then it'll skip a stitch here and there. So yeah, sometimes I just don't even use this, but for the demonstration, I'm gonna use it. So put your cone on and then put the yarn in this little loop. This screws and unscrews, which will change the tension that it's pulling your yarn. So you're going to wrap your yarn inside the groove of between these two gray discs. You can see I'm just going behind the discs and sticking it in there. Next, we're gonna go through this tension guide and just go underneath it and around to get it in. Now we're gonna go through this one. Again, you go underneath it and then around. Now you'll see there is a small hole right here on the black piece that holds the needle. Grab the teensy tiny crochet hook. So you're gonna stick the tiny crochet hook through it like that. Hook your yarn and pull it through. And now you want to thread your needle. Keep the yarn on the right side and come from the left side and go through the eye of the needle with the tiny crochet hook and bring your yarn through. So now it is threaded and ready to go. So I just have these two swatches that I'm going to combine on here to show you how it works. Since we're going to be making a seam, you want to make sure that the right sides of your work are facing each other. So this is the right side of this knitted piece. And what we're going to do is your needle will be right in front of one of these pegs sticking out. And on the very next needle to the right is where you want to start your work. So, I mean, it's very simple. I just try to get it near the very edge. I like it to be pretty even, the seams. So then this is the right side of our next piece. So we're gonna sandwich those together so that the right sides are facing each other. These aren't the same length, but that's fine. Now, say I was working with something thicker, like a thicker fabric, you can add claw weights. You know, if it was wanting to pop off, sometimes I'll add claw weights. Y'all, my apartment is a wreck. I live in a small studio and I've got a lot of stuff. Here's my foot pedal. And I just set it on my desk here because my desk is too tall to reach the ground. Before you start, you just want to hold that tail of the yarn that's coming out of the needle. And we'll go ahead and start. Oh, and my tension was too tight. So that's good that we got that on camera because the yarn snapped. So I'm gonna loosen that screw on the side and re-thread it. You know, obviously I would restart from the beginning and take the fabric off and move it back over. But we're just gonna keep going here and hopefully that fixed it. So notice how I seamed the fabric and then I went a few stitches past. So now to get it off, so this piece in here has the yarn wrapped around it. So I just, if it wants to, I just flick it off with my finger so that it releases the tension. I will pull the work off. And I'll kind of be gentle when I pull it because I don't want to undo all those chain stitches. So I grab above the last one and pull it down, and then you can cut your work. I'm just going to break it for now. You can see our chain stitches. They're kind of hard to see because, and this is where we started and then it snapped, but you can see that it is seamed right there now. Yeah, so next thing you want to do is take a crochet hook and we're gonna pull down until we get to like the last chain stitch that it made on the edge. So just put your crochet needle through the last loop and then pull it through as you normally would when you're ending your crochet. And then you'll just weave that tail in and you'll weave in the tail at the beginning, which obviously would mess this up, but yeah, it's a very strong seam here. An issue you could have is it won't seam properly. Like it'll be dropping stitches and not making the chain stitches. And first thing I would check would be your needle and how it's positioned. You can see in this side profile of mine that the needle is flush with this black piece back here. So like when I'm put my finger across the top here, the top of the needle is flush in line with that. And you'll also need to make sure that it's exactly straight on because it goes over top of each of these pegs. And you know, if your needle is too high or too low, it'll hit the piece back here and then it'll get into a jam or you could break the needle. So the needle positioning is very important. If it is not exactly right, it is not gonna work. And also the other thing that's really important for not skipping stitches or dropping stitches is making sure that your tension is good for the yarn that you're using. Before you start seaming your actual garment, just do some test swatches and make sure all the chain stitches are forming. And I'll do that as I pull it off the machine, just check it to make sure they're there. Because, you know, your tension might need to be tighter or it might need to be looser, just depending on the yarn and how it's coming up. Another issue that I've ran into with the electric machine is I've pressed the foot pedal, like everything seems fine, and then I press the foot pedal and it won't go. We were looking underneath here because here is the motor. Anyways, we figured out that there's a part up top that was loose, and it is this screw up top. This here was loose, and when I tightened it, it tightened something underneath, and then it started working again. So those are really the only two issues that I've ran into with this. It's fixable, you know, it's a machine that has these simple parts that you can figure it out if something's going on. Overall, it's a really great machine and I love it. All right, you guys, we're all done for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video is very informative for anybody interested in using a linker, or if you already have one and you don't know how to set it up. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I see them. Thank you again. Bye.